Hi, welcome to Dancing Local. I'm Ann Morris, the Program Director for the Dance Project.
I'm Jan Van Dyke, the Artistic Director and Executive Director. And later we're going to have Renay Aumiller, one of the artists touring with the North Carolina Dance Festival.
So we are here today to talk a little bit about the North Carolina Dance Festival, which is one of the Dance Project's major programs throughout the year. And this is our 23rd season.
It's hard to believe.
It is. So talk a little bit about the history of the festival, or why you started it.
Well, I had no idea of it going for 23 years at the beginning. It was just, actually I started it with John Gamble, who was the head of the dance department at UNCG. And I was a new faculty member, and we were talking about there's no dance community around here, and there's nothing happening. So we started thinking of ways that our students would get more interested in being in North Carolina and building a dance community. And so we invited the Duke dance faculty to come and give a performance. And everybody liked it so well that we thought, okay, we'll do it next year. It's a great idea. We had this brand new little dance theater, and part of the idea was to share that also, because dancers are always looking for places to perform. And so the next year we did it, and the Duke faculty was interested in coming again. And I think in the third year we decided, well, why are we doing this only for out-of-towners? We'll invite some of the Triad area dance artists. About the sixth year, we started taking it around the state. That was an idea that we had after the Triad area artists drew so heavily here in the Triad that we thought, well, some of these artists should be going to other cities so that people would get to know their work. So we generated a touring package. And at first it was by invitation. It was just people whose work we thought was interesting, people who were active. So we didn't want to be a place like where people would show their first work or so on, but we wanted to be a place where people who were active and important in North Carolina would gain a better audience. So that's what we did. First we started with 3 sites. Boone was one of our first, App State, and Duke did it for 1 year. But the audience wasn't big enough. They had us in Reynolds, and actually the audience for the local night was good. But the audience for the touring artists, nobody had ever heard of artists outside their city.
Right.
So nobody came. And they decided they couldn't afford that. So after that year, we went to Meredith College. And we also decided, well, let's mix up the locals with the touring artists so that we don't have this problem anywhere else.
Right. And so now the festival goes to 5 different communities. It's for the last couple of years, it's opened in Raleigh at Meredith College. At the end of October, it's usually in Boone at App State, and then it comes to Greensboro, and in the early spring, January and February, over to Charlotte and then Wilmington. Right. So it really spreads the
across the state. So we're very proud of that reach.
Yeah, and this at this point there are 8 touring artists. Each year there's a panel.
A different
panel each year, community members, dancers, students who review the submissions and choose.
It's usually 4.
Okay.
And with our board of directors, we choose the 4. And then we make a CD for each of them of all the submissions and send it out. And they have to vote yes, definitely, maybe, or no. And give a comment as to why. And so then we tally up the scores, and usually we don't get the top 8. Usually it's like the top 6 or 7, so that we can balance the program with an invitation to somebody who would help the demographic.
Right, and just to sort of help broaden the scope a little bit, we really try to create a lot of variety in terms of dance style and also stage of career. We've got some folks who are pretty early in their career, establishing their companies, establishing themselves as choreographers, and then more established choreographers.
Yeah, older people who are just going along making very mature work, which from my experience, I have to say that it's harder for older choreographers to get invited places. So this is a great opportunity for us all to show work.
And in each site, local artists from that community are also invited to perform alongside the touring artists. So as you said before, it's sort of a real mix of dancers and choreographers coming in from other parts of the state, and some of the groups that have their home base in that area.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that as a regional artist, you're usually not touring. Usually you have a home season and maybe some outreach and so on each year, but you usually don't go to other places unless you get a specific invitation. So to have an opportunity to tour to other communities is it's rare and important, I think, because when people see how good the work is across North Carolina, they get invitations for teaching, master classes, guest performances. It helps to build careers.
And you mentioned outreach. We do have a pretty extensive outreach component to the festival as well, particularly in Guilford County, where the Dance Project is based. And we try to send the touring artists into local schools and community centers to perform and to teach master classes in order to give these students a wide range of experiences with professional dance artists that they might not otherwise get, and some maybe inspiration to some of them to think about becoming a North Carolina dance artist themselves. Right.
And the fact that we can send both men and women into the schools, different ethnic backgrounds, different points of view artistically, it just, we hope to show the whole range of things that are possible so that kids get ideas.
Right. Well, I'd like to introduce the artists that we have touring with us today, or this season. So we will go to a slideshow and introduce those artists, and then we'll get to see the preview video for this season so we can get a little snippet of the choreography.
Okay.
So we've got Ron West and his Black Irish Dance Company. They're based in Raleigh. They do contemporary hip-hop choreography. Emily Daughtridge is based in Boone. She's got a neat piece there using a wall that the dancers dance against. Eleanor Smith is also from Raleigh. Carola Lutgringhouse, she's created a new work especially for this concert. Shali Dance Works from Durham. Jen Guy Metcalf directs Terra Nova Dance Theater, and they're based here in Greensboro. She's got a lovely duet. Renay Aumiller, who we'll have on later, and her piece Left and Leaving. We'll hear more about that in a little bit. And Jessie Knight Walker has a lovely solo. She's based in Chapel Hill. So those are our 8 artists, and we will snippet of their choreography now. Well, we're back here with Renay Aumiller, one of the choreographers touring with the festival this year. And we're really pleased to have you on the tour and have you here in the studio.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
And you're based in Durham, and you have a dance company.
I do. It's Renay Aumiller Dances. We just go by RAD for short. And we're fairly new as a group. I've been creating works for the past decade, but we formed as a company just this past year. We had our first opening show in July.
Nice. And the piece that you're touring with the festival is called Left and Leaving. And we'd love for you to talk just a little bit about that, whatever you'd like to share about that work, and maybe a little bit about your process in creating it.
Sure, yeah. Left and Leaving explores transitions. And so it explores transitions through the movement structure and also radiates to just transitions in everyday life. I didn't start going into the studio knowing that I was going to create a piece about that. Instead, I went in and I created a movement that just designed the space. So I was thinking about scribbling all over the rehearsal studio. And what came out of it was just this really physical, never-ending phrases. I realized that as doing the piece and also as watching, it's going to need some breaks. Yeah. If the audience were to watch just that, it would be almost too much. And so just this idea of transitions and turning not only every moment into a transition, but even the stillness. We added the image that's projected into the background at the very end. We always went upstage to find this calming place, this idea of home. And so we added this image by Bill Webb that he took, and it's of this beach, and there's a barren tree. And we really like this idea of starting at this place, looking out at this image as if we were looking out over the ocean horizon.
Yeah.
And then as the dance progresses, you realize that the idea of the image kind of shifts. You know, it's this idea of going to and from this place.
You talk in terms of we.
I do. My creative process, I involve the dancers quite a bit. So we work in collaboration, and which is why I love working with different groups of people, but I also love having my company as my home base. Every time I go in to create a new piece, our process shifts, and the outcome depends on what we do in the studio together.
And the dance, when I watched it, it struck me as quite formal, actually.
Yes.
Unlike a lot of work I've seen of yours, which...
Yes, I wanted to think about structure. I approached this work thinking mainly about structure and how I can manipulate it in a way that is accessible to most everyone, but also in a way that's interesting. So working with expectations in an unexpected way. That makes sense.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah. So you went out of state for graduate school and a year or two of whatever, and now you're back.
I am.
So how does it feel to be back in North Carolina?
It feels really wonderful. I went to the Chicago area and I went to Illinois for grad school, so I was gone for about 5 years. I grew up in Raleigh, and when I came back, I went to undergraduate at UNC Greensboro, and when I came back, I moved to Durham. And so I've kind of been all over the place, and I really, really enjoy being back. I love everything about this area, but what's really exciting now is that I'm coming at it from a perspective of being an older adult and just experiencing the dance community in a mature way. And within the past 2 years, I get to see all these communities growing, and that's what's been really exciting, coming back here and watching that growth.
So how would you say that the festival fits into the community?
I see it fitting in a variety of ways, and I see the importance of the community. There's two major reasons. One, to have growth and to have people want to move to the area, you're going to need some professional activity. And the NC Dance Festival has been a major component of the local dance professional community. We have wonderful dance majors in many universities in North Carolina. But to get people to stick around, you're going to need reasons, and with that you need those professional work. And what better way to tour than to be invited on the dance festival and to go to all these different cities to expose yourself and your work to that local place.
Yeah.
Another reason why I think the festival really fits into this idea of growth is, as you mentioned earlier, the outreach is such an integral part of having a community and a dance community grow. People are they're going to want to stick around to have jobs and to have these opportunities to reach out to the community. So it's all encompassing, to be honest. I think it's a great thing to have in our community.
Yeah, it seems to be a real support for the artists, and also sort of a source of inspiration in some sense for especially younger artists to sort of see where they might go, or see what the possibilities are, see what else is going on around them.
Absolutely. And growing up in the area, I do remember, being a high school student and going to see the dance festival at Meredith. And seeing works from, Carol Finley, and I remember she did the kitchen piece.
Right.
And I remember being at UNCG and seeing work by Albin Elvid for the first time and just being incredibly blown away by how different it was.
Right.
And so now I can't believe it. I mean, it's just such an honor to be a part of something that I really admired and looked up to as a high school student.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the foundational idea that so that kids would see this as an opportunity to aspire to. I worry sometimes, when you have juried opportunities like this, there are going to be people who are turned away. But I think in this field you have to learn. There are so many adjudicated opportunities that you have to learn that you're not going to fit into everyone.
Exactly, and I've applied for this festival for 3 years, and this is my first year on the festival, and it is such a part of the professional life that you kind of have to get used to.
Yeah.
You really do, and I think it was the best thing. I mean, I apply to 100 different things and I may get one. And that's part of the process. And what makes me know that this is the field for me is that it doesn't make me stop.
Right.
And that's the key.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Well, we have a little excerpt of your work that's touring. So let's look at that, and maybe we'll have a little more conversation about it after that.
We should point out that this is modern dance. which is new for lots of people in this area.
Right. And we mentioned that the festival features a variety of styles, but it is mostly focused on modern and contemporary dance, and with some other forms in there as well. This year in particular, we have a contemporary hip-hop piece and a contemporary ballet piece. But in general, the focus of the festival has been on presenting modern dance, which, as you say, is unfamiliar to many people and can be, can be a challenge sometimes.
If you're used to seeing ballet,
right?
It derives from ballet, but it's not the same aesthetic values. It's not always beautiful. It's not about being up in the air. It goes down to the floor. It explores much more emotion, and it's not as formal. For some reason, in the south of the United States, modern dance has not taken hold the way it has in the Northeast and California. So that's part of our goal, is to expose more people to it. And I find it really exciting and interesting and provocative in lots of ways. And so I hope that other people will start to see it that way too.
Sometimes I think I hear people talking about having trouble connecting with it, or not sure if they're understanding it, because there's not always a sort of recognizable narrative, or even sometimes a really strong central idea. Do you have any thoughts about connecting with modern dance, your piece or other pieces?
Yeah, there's been so many times you go to a dance concert and you just hear or think, like, I just didn't get it. And you're not alone if you think that. I
Right.
hear it all the time, for sure. And I think, it just stems from this idea that you're, looking for something. You come into the theater maybe expecting something, and that's definitely okay. Everyone's going to bring in their own past and history and process to whatever they're viewing. But my advice would be to just sit back and view the stage as a whole. So through this macroscopic lens instead of each individual detail. Not a lot of times sometimes there will be narrative, but a lot of times, you're dealing with dance that's, in every sense an abstract form. And so it's not really about a story always. It's going to be about a concept or a meaning. And most choreographers just, are hoping to just reach their audience members in any which way possible. So it's not even something to pinpoint in on what to get, but just to leave with a feeling or a thought.
I love that sense of just being open to the experience. And one of the things that is so powerful to me about modern dance is that sense that everybody can get something different from a dance, whether it's that feeling that you talked about, an appreciation of design, a concept, a memory.
There's the theory that with an artwork, it will go halfway, and then the viewer has to complete the other half. So meaning is sort of between the two things.
Right.
Not all in the artwork, but
right. And I have seen, several dance pieces multiple times, and depending on where I am that day and what mood I am in and how much sleep I got, I will get something very different.
Right.
Out of the same piece.
I think it's important also to realize that most of what you see in modern dance concerts is original work. So it's not all going to be equally successful in communicating ideas to you personally. So if you didn't get anything, maybe that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so we can see this original work in ACOC Auditorium, November 1st and 2nd, here in Greensboro. Tickets are available through the UNCG box office through October 25th, and then at the theater the night of the show. We hope you'll join us.
Yeah.